thanks for coming on to COFOH Live and Undead. For those of you who still aren't initiated, which I know that's most of you, it's Colorado Festival of Horror. Getting ready for our first year event, which will be September 11th through the 13th, 2020. And hopefully Cult Legacy will be a vendor and do some awesome stuff with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Hoping so.
Yeah. So, Theresa, I've been wanting to have this interview for a long time. I think you and I met some years ago when you were doing this programming at Alamo Drafthouse, and I think I did an art piece back when we were able to hand out custom prints and posters and stuff. I think it was for Human Centipede.
Yes.
And I wasn't able to, because like it is now, tonight, snowing, I wasn't able to make it out because of the nasty snowstorm.
Yes.
Because it was all the way in Littleton, I
Yes,
think.
that's actually a good, that was the very last screen that ever happened at Alamo Drafthouse.
That's right.
And not a single person showed up.
Oh.
It was just myself and my girlfriend Fenny.
Uh-huh.
And we took the light rail out there, and it was like a blizzard. That was like an extreme storm, but we took the light rail and got there, and I had a costume, and we had all this stuff set up, and not a single person showed up.
Oh my gosh.
And the projectionist that night was like, I'm just gonna buy you guys dinner and some drinks, and like make yourself at home. And so we loved the movie, so we watched it, had dinner, had some cocktails, and when it was like time to leave, we realized we missed the last light rail. And we're like, oh shit. So we couldn't get home and got like stranded out there. Couldn't get an Uber, couldn't get a Lyft. Cars kept coming and couldn't find us in the parking lot.
Oh my God.
It was so cold and so wet, and we ended up going into some weird like craft paint your own pottery store or something that was in that shopping center.
Still open, huh?
Still open, and we were just like, and they were like, if you want to stay the night here, you can. And we're like, so we're just like, well, we're going to risk it and just go back outside.
Oh my God.
Hypothermia might be better. And then we finally somehow got home. I don't even remember, but that was a terrible night.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm so sorry.
If you would have been there.
Yeah, earlier I mentioned I'm so sorry for I apologize for everything. I think I'm Canadian.
That bad weather, I know, is always your fault now.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah. So Theresa, you've been doing this programming and everything, for horror. Like, what got you into all this? Like, what was it? Early on childhood stuff, like it is with most of us.
So, first and foremost, I love horror, of course, but I also love cinema. I love all cinema. I'm a huge cinephile. My dad, I was an only child, so I spent a lot of time inside, being like an indoor kid, watching movies, playing video games, mostly with my dad. And my dad was the kind of dad that, like, every time something came on that he thought was important to, like, my development, he would make me stop whatever I was doing to, like, watch it with him.
Oh, that's
And those films were always Creepshow.
Nice.
Creepshow 2. I'd be like doing my homework, and he's like, stop whatever you're doing. Creepshow's on. You gotta come watch it with me. And I was like, okay. The Shining was another. He loved really terrible made-for-TV horror movies, which I have a very special place in my heart for. Bad Ronald being one of those, which I've shown at Scream. Dark Night of the Scarecrow is another one. Every time, because those were on like very infrequently, they weren't on video. So anytime that kind of stuff was on TV, he'd sit me down and like I had to watch that stuff with him. And you don't appreciate it at the time as a kid, but as I grew up, I grew to just love those movies. And pre-streaming and pre even that kind of stuff being at video stores, you had these memories of a lot of those films, and you weren't sure if they were real or not. You're like, I kind of remember that. Like, was that real? I remember seeing like Motel Hell on like, Up All Night with Rhonda Shears, and thought it was like an amazing dream I'd had.
I remember that. I'd watch that with my dad too.
Yeah, and it wasn't until like my 20s that I found that like on the bottom shelf of a video store that I was like, oh my God, it's real.
Yeah.
So he was just, a huge person in my life that turned me on to that stuff, and it, instilled this lifelong love of horror and cinema with me that is just like insatiable.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. So, aside from horror, like, What other films do you usually gravitate towards?
I love everything, honestly.
Okay.
There's definitely more I love than I don't love. I don't love action movies.
Oh, okay.
Superhero movies.
Oh, interesting.
Martial art movies, not a big fan.
Okay.
But I love film noir. I love dark comedies. I love so many different things. I'm a huge Coen Brothers fan.
Yeah.
You know, I love almost everything except for very few things. Star Wars, I'm not a big fan.
Oh.
But yes, I love. Also, I'm watching movies every night of the week, going to the theater 2 or 3 times a week. Like, huge movie person. Can't get enough.
Nice. That's great. And we, with that, like, how did you go about getting into like curating films and putting together your own programming?
Yeah. So many years ago, I wrote a couple notes because I'm really bad with dates. I have like a bad.
You too.
I really struggle with the passing of time. Like if you asked me something, I'm like, was that yesterday or like 17 years ago?
Yeah.
So because I figured you'd ask that. So many years ago, in the year 2012, in a faraway land called 2012, I had a bar that I would frequent, and this specific bar because they allowed dogs. And my dog at the time, she's no longer with us, Baba. She was a local celeb. Baba was allowed at this bar. So it became my favorite bar, and she could sit at a table. They would like give her table service.
Oh, that's sweet.
It was outrageous. And that bar was called Crash 45 in Globeville.
Oh, okay. I remember it.
Yeah, it's still there, called Fort Greene. Still an amazing bar.
Oh.
Run by Eleanor, who was actually a bartender at Crash 45. Now she's the owner of the bar.
Nice.
And has kept it going in kind of a different vibe, but still a great place. But I drank there all the time with my dog and had asked them, would you guys be down with like a movie night? And they were like, yeah, that'd be cool. Let's do it. They have a really big, cool patio there. Not so much now because the neighborhood has gentrified and changed quite a bit. But back then, it was still a pretty rough neighborhood. You could be showing movies outside and blasting a PA at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday and no one cared. So I started showing horror movies there. It was called Cruel Summer.
Okay.
And the plan that it was just going to be like a summer thing. And the very first film I ever showed there was Coffin Joe. This Night I Will Possess Your Corpse.
We have a one of our mascots for COFOH. His name is Coffin Joe.
Oh.
Just a big coffin with undead arms and legs, walks around.
Nice.
Yeah. So, but I know the film series that you're talking about.
Yeah, the first Brazilian horror film ever made, and then became a trilogy. But I showed that film, and I didn't think anybody would come. It would just be like my friends. And I think the first one there was probably 12 or so people, and I was like, whoa, 12 people came.
Yeah.
How awesome. Brought some business to the bar, had a good time, watched some weird movie no one had seen. And then the next time there's 24 people.
Yeah.
And then the next time there's 30 some people.
Nice.
I ended up doing that series there for I think like 3 or 4 years.
Oh, no kidding.
Until outgrew the space. There was like 70 to 80 people crammed into, and it's a very small bar.
Yeah.
Crammed into the bar. And I still some of my best memories was that film series. And when it was kind of small and intimate like that, I would make little souvenirs for every single person to take home as like a memento from the films. And I just loved doing that. But as things have gotten bigger, which is awesome, of course, I'm not able to do that anymore. But I still have all those little souvenirs that I would hand make and hand paint and just bring really weird shit for people. I showed Motel Hell there also. And everybody got to take home like a pack of wieners that were all like individually wrapped.
Sweet. Nice. That's awesome.
So that was a great time. Had a great time there. And then a friend of mine, Keith Garcia, who
I know Keith.
has worked with the Denver Film Society for many years, going back to when it was the Stars Film Center at Tivoli.
Yeah.
We've been friends for a long time through a mutual love of cinema. And he had approached me. He had left the sea for a while to work on a documentary that he was making, or is making, called The Hills Have Eyes, about the Denver drag scene.
Yeah, I think I contributed to that.
Awesome.
That Kickstarter.
So did I. Hopefully everyone did.
Yeah.
Brett. It's not too
fucking
late.
get on it.
It's not too late.
Go back in time.
We're going to tell him.
Yeah.
So he was working at that point, working on his documentary, and also had taken a job at the Alamo in Littleton, and had asked me if I would want to pair up with him and co-curate a
cool.
horror/genre series. And I jumped at the chance to work with him directly, and so we created a series called Channel Z.
Oh yeah, okay, I remember that.
And that was it would be once a month for a Friday and Saturday in a row.
Mm-hmm.
The Friday would be the horror night, which was my pick, and then the Saturday would be like the cult or genre pick, which was his pick. And the great thing about Littleton Alamo was that they have the capability to show 35 millimeter,
mm-hmm.
which we both feel very strongly about and are big fans of. So wanted to show as many things as possible on 35. And if memory serves me correctly, I think we showed almost everything we ever presented was on film.
Okay.
I don't think we ever showed anything that wasn't on film, or very, very few things. And the first thing that we ever showed there was Lamberto Bava's Demons on 35 millimeter.
Oh, nice.
Perfect movie about a movie in a movie theater.
Yeah.
And that was great. And we did that series together, I believe, for just around a year.
Okay.
And then Keith left the Alamo to resume work on his documentary, and then later returned to the Denver Film Society. And that then kind of morphed into the early stages of Scream Screen, which was a few screenings there that
mm-hmm.
nobody came to.
Oh, no.
And then I was just kind of without a home for a minute in terms of Scream Screen. Kind of lost its home with the Alamo, and just wasn't sure where I was going to go with it. And then have many friends that work for the C and Denver Film Society, and a couple of them mentioned me, why are you not pitching this there? And I was like, gee, I don't know. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
And really kind of pushed me and prompted me to approach Britt Withey,
mm-hmm.
who sadly is no longer with us, but was a major person in what made that organization great.
Yeah.
And so I approached him about doing the series there, and kind of just wrote up a little draft treatment, and he greenlit it that day, and Scream Screen has been there for almost 5 years.
Wow, that's fantastic. Congrats
Thanks.
On that. That is a long time to keep, that type of curation and programming just going.
And the series has continued to grow. It's a quarterly series, so it's usually 4 times a year-ish, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less, for month-long blocks, so like 4 or 5 Fridays, depending on that month.
Okay.
And the series has just continued to grow. I'm always surprised at like the more and more people that come out, especially to like the really weirdo shit that I show. I showed Crash, David Cronenberg's Crash.
Psychomania.
On 35 millimeter on Valentine's Day, and I was like, oh, no one's going to be at that. I'm pointing to Matt, who was there. And
Sorcerer.
100 people were there on Valentine's Day to watch, Cronenberg's like pornographic, psychosexual, kink car crash fest. So I was like, wow.
Yeah, Brett was there.
Okay.
He was at the front of the line.
I thought I saw him.
Yeah. Saw him with his cosplay. Well, and incidentally too, every time you do a show, you're always in like full costuming.
Yes.
When we saw you in December Sleepaway Camp, you were all dressed up
Aunt
as
Martha.
one of the
Martha.
that you really immerse yourself in the event and making it more of a happening.
Yeah, for sure.
It seems like
for sure. I love dressing up. It's fun to me. Cosplay has been something I've always enjoyed. I just think it's fun, and I think the biggest thing for me with showing older films, showing films that people have already seen, why does anyone want to leave their house? It's snowing outside, you have a giant TV at home, you have surround sound, you have a dog on the couch, you have your bong. Why does anyone want to leave their house? I've already seen that. So I feel like it's my responsibility to bring something additional to make it more of an event, make it more experiential. Oh, I've seen this movie, but, there's going to be a band, some crazy weird band before it, or there's going to be a special guest, or there's going to be this chick in some weird, crazy, fucked up costume, or some added like incentive that makes it more of an event. And you'll remember, yeah, I saw Sleepaway Camp with Felissa Rose there and Aunt Martha and all these really awesome, like-minded people.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to accomplish.
And that's precisely the experience I had. Because the first time I saw Sleepaway Camp, it was on VHS, and I was in high school. I was just like, oh, okay. I was by myself, and it was on a small screen TV. You know, it didn't have that much resonance with me. And then my buddy Stefan came into just like, hey, I'm in town. Oh, all right. Well, I'm going over to a movie. You're coming with me. So, and see Brett and everybody, and it's just like, oh my gosh, this is such an experience. And to be in the theater with everybody watching this fun, campy horror movie, slasher film, and to have the actress there, to have you, I mean, and all this ambiance, it's just like, oh my gosh, this is what each screening of any film should fucking be like.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, my hat's off to that.
Thank you.
Now, my understanding too is you also work in film or in television. Is that correct?
I used to for many years. For close to a decade, I did work in TV production, mostly working on reality TV shows, cooking shows, home improvement shows, HGTV type shows, Weather Channel kind of shows. I actually have not worked in TV production for 3 or 4 years now.
Oh, okay.
I work in kind of an office setting for something it's not bad, but I probably shouldn't say the name of it, just because it's like legit and professional. Maybe I don't want to shame them.
Yeah.
I don't know why they'd be ashamed of me. But
please don't disown me.
But yeah, I haven't worked in production as a job for a few years.
Okay.
But yes, did that for a very long time and learned a lot of wonderful skills, and I've definitely worked on a variety of kind of short film, more fun projects since then. Okay. But no longer do that as a day job.
Okay, cool. Because I remember you were working with Andrew Novik on a project too.
Yes.
A documentary, I think.
Yes, John Benet's Tricycle.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I still haven't seen that one. Yeah, I saw the short.
That's okay.
So I contributed money, I think, to the bigger project.
A lot of financial contributions happening and
not
happening. But
Brett's still not chipping in.
Brett, did you didn't? She didn't. Yeah.
Jeez, where's your checkbook, buddy? Dues are due.
Well, it's okay. We didn't hit our Kickstarter goal, Brett. We were $30 short, but no, don't feel bad. It's okay. It wasn't you.
So, with all this, putting together the curating and the programming and everything, do you have the rest of the year planned out? How does that work?
Sort of. So try to kind of get ahead as much as possible. So Screen it's happening right now every Friday in February at the Sea Film Center with Hell on Wheels, which is a month-long tribute to vehicular horror. And so we're 2 weeks in.
Actually, cover me up. Yeah.
We're 2 weeks in. Oh, we're 2 weeks to go.
There you go. Thank you. I need direction on screen.
Yeah, so that's fun. That's happening. This coming Friday, the 21st of February, is William Friedkin's Sorcerer. Not a horror movie.
Yeah.
I'm going to show Not a Horror Movie and give that a shot.
That's with Roy Scheider.
Yes. Right? Starring Roy Scheider of Jaws fame.
Yep.
Incredible movie. I just felt like in this subgenre of automotive films, that while it's not a horror film, it's so terrifying, edge of your seat, you're laughing, you're crying, you're sweating.
Yeah.
I could not do this series without a film of that caliber. And I'm hoping that'll also bring out some non-horror people for the evening to give it a shot and kind of see that screen is not just for sickos. Normal people can enjoy it too.
Yeah, weirdos can have fun as well.
And then the final film, on the 28th is Dead End Drive-In. And director Brian Trenchard Smith is going to be there in person. So really excited for that.
Nice.
It's an Australian exploitation movie from the 80s. Post-apocalyptic drive-in. These like punk kids end up there and can never leave.
Excellent.
And he's an amazing director. He did a lot of horror movies, but also did just a bunch of weird shit. BMX Bandits, Nicole Kidman's first movie.
I remember that. Yeah.
Leprechaun 3.
Seriously? Okay, that one I did not know. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, my mind's gone blank. Turkey Shoot, aka Escape 2000. I mean, he made just tons and tons.
Wow.
He's such a prolific director of horror and just genre films and cult stuff. So very excited to have him coming out from Portland for that screening.
Nice.
And then Scream Screen will be back the second half of May into June for 5 Fridays with 6 films.
Sweet.
You have to write that math out.
Yeah. Oh, that'll be.
But it
interesting.
checks out. I did
Does
it. It's on my card.
It works out.
Yeah.
Well, it is leap year, so I'm sure that informs all the other months after February,
yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah. I don't know how that works out. I'm making shit up. Wow. So you're busy.
Yeah, I'm a very busy person. I don't sleep.
Oh, you neither. I understand that. Yeah. Doesn't help that we're drinking coffee this late at night.
Beer, tea, and water.
Nice.
A strict regimen of hydration.
Yeah.
And,
your heart doesn't know. It's like, should we
alcohol and
slow
caffeine.
down? Should we speed up? I don't know. Let's
Keeps
keep
me
it
in limbo.
interesting. Well, it is snowing outside, so it's better to maintain that balance.
Right.
On top of a Scream Screen, you've got Cult Legacy. Can you tell us a little bit about what that's about?
So about a year ago, January-ish of last year, so part of Scream Screen, I used to make with my partner just buttons, pins that you wear,
Sure.
like 2.25-inch pins for all the movies. We would make 150 pins for every movie that I would give away to every person at the movies. And it was awesome, and people come just covered in the pins. They've got shitloads of the pins.
Nice.
And at some point I was just like, oh my God, the not sleeping and something's got to kind of go. And there's an amazing pin company in Denver called Attic Flood who does enamel pins and horror apparel and t-shirts. And I had teamed up with them, approached them about the possibility of doing some director-themed Scream Screen enamel pins.
Sweet.
And we started doing those and did 3. One was for a George Romero series, the non-Zom films of George Romero. And it was George Romero's face with the films in the series, kind of elements from it. And I was like, I just think that'd be cool to do. And we did them, and people bought them, and they sold out immediately. So I was like, oh, we should do more of these. And then we did another one that was, who am I forgetting in the center there? Well, we did a Toby Hooper one that was also amazing. Still have some of those in my basement if anyone's interested. Not as popular. And then I'm forgetting a director there in the middle that, we did a Wes Craven one also.
Oh, of course.
Which was also popular. But just kind of seeing the popularity of those pins. I'm a little bit of an enamel pin collector, but a huge horror t-shirt collector. I have like drawers that don't close at home.
Yeah.
And was just like, maybe this is something we should start just doing ourselves. And one of my best friends, Fenny Hagman, is an incredible artist, and she was actually the one that designed the artwork for all 3 of those Scream Screen director pins.
Oh, fantastic.
She has an incredible style that is very unique and very spot on in terms of human likeness.
Mm-hmm.
And just talk to her about, would you be interested in maybe you do the art and I'll do the business, and your husband does the like logistical stuff, and my partner Brian does like shipping management. And all 4 of us were like, yeah, let's just do our own company. We know what we like. We think good taste.
Yeah. And
Fenny's artistic skills are unmatched. So we launched a company called Cult Legacy, and it's been going great.
Good.
We do enamel pins and horror t-shirts, and I'll be branching out into some more products this year. And it's been just a really fun and great experience, and doing a lot of pop-up little shows in Denver, and then have an online store, cultlegacy.com. And it's been really fun and great, and just really excited to do more of that kind of stuff in the future.
Cool.
And depart into sales and shows and cons outside of Colorado is kind of our push for the end of this year.
Nice. Well, we're here at Mutiny Information Cafe. Make sure to talk to Jim at the front about carrying some of your shirts and pins. He's a big pin guy. Yeah. So he definitely would love stuff like that. Well, and hopefully we're able to have you at Colorado Festival of Horror we're still doing all the adjudication process, but I think you guys are easily a shoe.
And I know how much work goes into that kind of stuff, especially creating it from the ground up. There's
I know.
so many moving parts and
we're
elements.
Still installing the plumbing.
Oh, yeah. Good luck with that.
I know.
So yeah, and that's awesome. I think Denver has definitely has a voracious horror community.
Yeah.
And with the few years that Mile High Horror Film Festival wasn't happening, the tragic loss of the Stanley Film Festival, which still stings to this day, I think a lot of the horror hounds in the community have just been kind of like, damn, there's still awesome stuff happening, but we're kind of missing those bigger full-on events. So props to you for seeing that hole and trying to fill it.
Yeah, well, and with my background, I come from DINC, Denver Independent Comic and Art Expo, and putting that first year together, and after meeting up with Brett and then Dwight Thompson, who are like super volunteers that volunteer for fucking everything. That was always something that we would talk about. It's just like, oh well, because we're friends with Tim, the creative director of Mile High Horror Film Fest, and for the longest time they just didn't have plans on really coming back. So we're like, yeah, it's it seemed like at the time, even though there was a lot of stuff going on, like during October, you've got the South Broadway Halloween Parade, which was such an amazing event.
Yeah.
And then you got your haunted house crowds, which everybody goes to, but it's not nothing that really you can meet and have fan service and kind of gush. Movie screenings, of course. But none of that convention aspects. We've had some friends that have tried the horror convention a few years ago, and to mix results and stuff. So that's definitely always been something of a hole that we felt. And in my experience with Mile High Horror Film Fest, coming from the comic book world, holy crap. The horror community seems to be so much more in tune and passionate over that genre versus the comic book community. I felt, which can be hot or cold, and at least here it feels like family. There it's just like, oh my gosh, I gotta keep making introductions and do that. So that's always been interesting. And with horror, the fan base and the community, just needs more things to kind of grow around and kind of cross-pollinate.
Absolutely. And again, the fans are definitely out there. They're coming to Scream soon. They're coming to all these other events. It had been on my radar for 10 years, but I finally just got down to the Telluride Horror Show this past October, and I don't know if you've been to that.
How is that?
I've wanted to go for a decade. It's crazy. They've already been doing that. And I've always had Scream Screen during the month of October, so it's just been, with my schedule, just too much. But this year, I just actually decided I wasn't going to do any screenings in October, so I could go and enjoy my favorite month of the year. Yeah, and Telluride Horror Show was great. It's small, it's intimate, it's cozy. The town is beautiful, perfect backdrop. And I had a great time. Screenings were great. I would definitely do it again.
Nice.
And I think that's another... it's still within Colorado, but it's a distance. It's like a 7-hour drive or so. But you load up some friends in the car and you carpool and you split a place and
get some road beers.
Yeah, get some road beers and tea and water and you're good to go.
That is not to say that you should be drinking and driving.
No drinking and driving.
None of that for the driver, just for the passengers.
There's a gondola there. Once you're there, you have some beers on the gondola.
Yeah, and especially the guy in the trunk. Yeah.
Yeah, especially that guy. But I think they're doing great stuff down there also with Telluride and. There's definitely stuff out there, but I'm excited for the new convention that you guys are working on.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I know I would love to talk to you about programming, especially moderating, hosting, stuff like that. I think that would be pretty ridiculous. maybe even like set up like a block, that's screen.
That'd be awesome.
So, so we got lots to talk about.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. But yeah, we're in the early. I mean, we've been planning this for it's been a couple of years. We've been ramping up.
Wow.
What was it? Last year, I think we put out a coloring book with a bunch of local artists and some international artists, and that was a lot of fun. And then from there realized, at least I did, that hey Dave. Dave came here all the way from Colorado fucking Springs to see Theresa Mercado.
Someone should give this man a chair.
Yeah.
let me. My beers can sit on the floor, so someone can have a chair.
There was a death on 25, so I had to take 83.
Oh, jeez.
So they had it shut down both ways.
Wow.
It's closed at Monument, so.
Yeah. Again, I will apologize because that's what I do.
It's all good.
Yeah. No, nice. I caused the wreck. Anyway, no, I didn't. Anyway.
Dave, thank you for coming all the way from Colorado Springs.
Yeah. I've never been out of basement before. This is pretty cool.
We're in this very bunker-esque basement. So
very much so.
If we get trapped down here, we have a lot of books to eat.
That's right. Yeah. Oof. Well, lots of fiber.
Lots of fiber.
Yeah, that's always good.
Lots of things to burn.
It's a lot of paper, so paper cuts. Yay.
Yeah.
In the mouth. That's no good. Don't do that.
No.
Yeah, that's not too good. Yeah. So, Theresa, as a fan, what are you really into these days? What kind of movies and stuff that's coming out? Because you said you go to movies.
I do.
Like 3 times a week.
I love the movies. So. I think everything pretty much that A24 has been putting out for the past few years is some of the best new horror that's out there. I'm very, very, very critical of new horror. I think most of it is, I don't know why it exists. Why bother? The remakes and just the jump scares, and I'm just, it does nothing for me. But I think A24 has just been a breath of fresh air with smart, intelligent, new films that are great. Being Hereditary was fantastic. Midsommar was fantastic.
Same director.
Yeah.
The
list goes on and on. I think they're doing great stuff. What have I seen recently? Sometimes I see so many things that it's like it's hard for me to
kind of blends together.
Yeah. What have I most recently seen? What did I go see this week in the theater? I don't even remember. I am going on Thursday to see VFW, which is...
Wow, I don't...
It was at Telluride Horror Show, and I missed it. Yeah. It's like a VFW hall, and some mutant punks come in to, like, do something with some prostitutes or something about a bad drug deal.
Sounds family-oriented.
So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful.
That could go either way. Has anyone seen VFW?
Yeah. VFW?
Yay or nay?
I liked it, but don't go by my taste.
Okay, I'm going to see it regardless, so if it was terrible, I'll only have you to blame. But I am looking forward to seeing that. And, I can never remember, honestly. I've seen so many things. There's a great documentary actually screening this Thursday, also at the C, called Scream Queen. My Nightmare on Elm Street, which is a fantastic documentary for horror fans and non-horror fans. About Mark Patton, who was the gentleman that played the lead in Nightmare on Elm Street 2, which was very unpopular in the franchise. And upon more adult repeated watchings, you may or may not see a very homoerotic subtext, though other people just call it the text because it is so in your face. And the documentary is fantastic, and that actor, Mark Patton, delves into... as a closeted gay actor at that time, this role was kind of a curse that ended up destroying the rest of his career. And I won't say too much, but it's just a very raw, fascinating, like deep story about a film that so many people just kind of poo-pooed. And it completely changed this person's life. But I highly recommend that. I think it has one more screening on Thursday. And I've seen it this summer or so, and it was fantastic. I highly recommend that. I love movies about movies. I'm a big sucker always for those. And like to just kind of know what happens behind the scenes and in the aftermath of people's lives, how this movie completely destroyed their lives, or not. Sometimes it's a good story, but usually it's a life destroyer.
Yeah, it tends to be, doesn't it? That and like also for like child actors kind of caught up in the situation.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Right.
Yeah, recently also I rewatched Best Worst Movie, which is the documentary about Troll 2.
Oh, okay, I did see that.
It's a fantastic documentary. The director is the child star from Troll 2, who grew up into a man, as children often do, and decided to make this documentary about how Troll 2 is, the worst movie ever made. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has like a 0. It's like the worst movie ever, which it is not the worst movie ever, let me tell you right now. But it's bad. And he grew up, directed this film, brought the cast back, and then reunites the cast, and they go on like a nationwide tour showing the film, and they have no idea that it has like this cult status, and people come out to midnight movies, drive like 100 miles to come see it, quote every line, dressed up in the costumes, and
massive cult
the
following.
Actors are just like, holy shit, I had no idea anyone had ever seen this, like no clue. And it's just a great like heartwarming story about like the power of fandom, and these films that get this second shelf life that no one cared about when they came out, and they become how a film becomes like a cult classic. Like
when you look at like a project like The Room. I watched that on YouTube. I'm like, what the fuck is the interest in this thing? It's like, oh, I get it. It's so bad. I don't know if it's good, but it certainly is sublime.
The Room is in its own category.
Right.
Because like Troll 2 was deliberately made by a director who truly thought he was making a good movie. The Room, you don't know what fucking Tommy Wiseau, is he crazy? Is he not crazy? Is he actually some genius that knew exactly what he was doing?
Right.
Or is he just completely like a narcissistic monster that, I have a special place in my heart for The Room too, but you don't ever understand like what is it real? Is it not real? Did he know this is like such a piece of shit?
Right. Well, and then along with that, you also have like these Hollywood picks about the behind the scenes, so you had that James Franco flick that came out.
Disaster Artist.
I caught that in the theater. I'm like, it's okay. So that prompted me. It's like I should probably learn what the fuck this thing is. So
you saw Disaster Artist before
first,
The Room?
Correct.
Oh,
so it was completely reversed. It was basically like, watching the movie before you read the book.
Yeah, see, I don't know if you saw those in reverse. There's probably no point of even seeing The Room.
Right.
Why bother?
Right. No, definitely piqued a curiosity.
Okay.
It's just like, okay, why create this around this? It's like, oh yeah. So, for me, the Room on YouTube was much more immersive than watching the big screen thing with James Franco on it, So that was interesting.
And I mean, that film has one of the biggest cult followings ever.
Right.
I had seen it, I don't know, in my early 20s or something, because it was in every magazine. It's like the worst movie ever. So, you watch it and it's funny and you laugh.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize for years that it had the cult following it had. And, finally one night went and saw the midnight movie version of it, the screening, and Tommy Wiseau was there in person.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, well, if I'm going, I might as well go to the one where he's there.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's completely off the rails. Like
he
he's out in the sidewalk throwing a football with people.
Yep.
Playing football. And you're like, what in the fuck is going on?
Doing those tropes from the film.
It's great. He's wearing like 5 or 6 belts. He has so many belts on. Like one's holding up his pants, and then there's belts down here. There's belts up here. So many belts. And obviously he's just like, I don't know what's going on. He's just crazy looking. And then you would come in the lobby, and he has like a whole giant merch station with all these different shirts and bears and like teddy bears and just a bunch of weird stuff that you're like, okay. And of course, I bought like a ton of shit because you do. But I remembered I bought like a wife beater white tank top, and it has Tommy Wiseau's face on the center. Who would put their face on a T-shirt to sell people? The nerve.
No.
And it says like.
Who's to say? I don't know.
The nerve, the ego. I can't sell those either. So.
Oh, really?
But yeah,
That's all right. They'll go come flying off the shelf once I'm wearing them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go throw the football outside.
That sounds good.
Get rid of
You're
some of
probably
those
gonna
shirts.
throw it better than I can.
I bought this shirt from Tommy Wiseau with his face on it, and it says, "Ask me about my sex life."
Oh dear.
And it's so funny too because the tag inside the shirt, it's like a direct rip-off of the Tommy Hilfiger logo, if you remember what that even is. And instead of Tommy Hilfiger, it says Tommy Wiseau, the tag in the shirt, and it's so silly. And I still wear that shirt sometimes.
Nice.
That's that story.
with fandom and the way everybody's kind of latches on to the thing that they're really into, like The Room and some of the other films that we were discussing too. With something like Screen, I mean it's a great platform for people to find these films and projects that they probably didn't have any idea about, or at least refamiliarize themselves with these things, especially from childhood.
Mm-hmm.
In the way that you present them too, it almost suggests to me that it would be a great kind of spawning ground for new fandom to take off. When you're doing the screenings and everything, and afterwards with the people that are attending, are you finding that the response is really engaging, and are you able to talk a lot more about the film and some of the things, not just like the Q&A, but the people that kind of hang around afterwards? It's like, oh my gosh, I really connected with this. And even if it's something like Psychomania, or Cronenberg's Crash. I mean, there is so much to read into that. There's so much subtext, and there's so much text.
Yeah, absolutely. When I first started Screen, one of my kind of major goals, if you will, was to show underseen things.
Okay.
I think that the midnight programs at some of the other art house theaters, they're doing a great job of representing the Rooms and the Rocky Horrors, and those kind of films that are very important, that are the epitome of midnight movies. But what I didn't see anyone showing was these kind of lesser films.
Yeah.
And when I say lesser, I do not mean that in any kind of negative or derogatory. Lesser seen, but also still very important films. So I really wanted to show things that were not as accessible, that were not as mainstream, that people totally, oh shit, I forgot that ever existed, or I've never heard of that. I really want to check that out, or oh, I've heard of that. It's supposed to be crazy.
Yeah.
Those are the things I want to show. Now, as time has passed, I have definitely started showing a little more what I would consider to be more mainstream films. I did a series in December called Petrified Woods that was all cabin horror films.
Yeah.
Sleepaway Camp was one of those.
Yep.
And Evil Dead. Evil Dead, I was definitely really back and forth with.
Sure.
While I love Evil Dead, we all love Evil Dead. We've all seen it 7 million times.
Right.
Do I need to show it again? But I also felt that I couldn't do a cabin series without that cornerstone of that subgenre.
Sure.
And luckily, in October, there was a new 4K restoration that came out with a brand new score by the original composer. So I was like, okay, that gives us a little more something. We're going to see a slightly different version than we've seen. We're going to hear a slightly different version. And I'm starting the series with this cornerstone, so no one can say, what about Evil Dead?
Yeah.
Well, these other films wouldn't exist. And that's probably true. But I do still try to show the psychomanias and that weird shit that nobody has seen or has seen on VHS when they were 14, and it looked so awful and dark they couldn't see it or hear it. Now we can actually see it for the first time, and see companies like Arrow and so many are doing these restorations now that look amazing, and it's like seeing these films for the first time. I mean, they look incredible. So that's always a joy too when we can get a DCP or something of those new new restorations of the old films.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a long answer that
Oh,
didn't
that's
answer your
okay.
question. But yes, one of the most joyous parts of doing this series for me is meeting these people
Mm-hmm.
and just meeting so many other horror fans and having those conversations and dissecting the movies and laughing about the movies and just appreciating these films with other people that want to appreciate these films.
Yeah.
And that is the reason that I do this and that I get so much joy. And I have met so many amazing people in Denver and surrounding areas that drive an hour to come see a movie at
Thanks,
fucking
Dave.
10 o'clock on a Friday in the snow, you know?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be driving an hour to Colorado Springs to see a movie in the snow unless, you know, I guess maybe I would, but there's not a lot of people that will do that. And I appreciate that so much. And like, these are our people. These are cinema people. These are horror people. A little snow, an hour drive is not going to stop them. I can't wait to talk to him about a movie. I can't wait to talk to his partner about a movie. And there's so many people like that. And I've met so many incredible people that, you know, they're a part of this horror community, from musicians to filmmakers to fans to artists. You know, it's definitely not just limited to the films. That's kind of what brings us all together. But there's so many subsects of people doing rad shit. Many screens I do try to have bands or musicians play before some of the movies.
Sweet.
And I'm a huge music person also, and love. I think Denver has such an amazing, weird, diverse community of bizarro musicians doing cool shit. And so many of those things go hand in hand with horror movies. And I love also, you know, exposing my friends and viewers to this band that they would have never seen, they would have never heard of. Like, that's building community. And I think Screen has really done an amazing job of building a community of horror fans. And that's something like I carry in my little black heart every day.
Oh, that's sweet. We're starting to wind down. But we actually have a room of wonderful people that came out. So since we got a few minutes, if there's any questions amongst this fantastic group, please feel free to shout them out. Don't fucking raise your hand. Okay, Dave, you drove an hour and a half
and saw a car crash.
Yeah, you saw a car crash. You're scarred from life. You know, what visions of the future can you bestow upon us?
I don't know. It's one of those things, kind of going back to traveling. It's, you know, if you don't support your scene, you don't have a scene. So I was in the military for a while and was stationed down in Colorado Springs. And for the longest time, you know, it's like after I found out about certain midnight screenings, I would come up for it.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I remember this one, it was like Comic-Con weekend. Back when you'd call it Comic-Con, and it was like Roadhouse, but it was like 6 people, including me, and I just thought, screw it, what are you going to see Roadhouse on the big screen, you know, because it comes out on VHS, and you're you know, of an age you shouldn't be watching it on the big screen, and you know, granted, that's not a horror film, but yeah, it's just, you know, like our mutual friend Keith will show Streets of Fire on this day. And it's one of those things like I had never seen until I was like laid up after surgery and had a friend lend it to me. And I was like, man, how did I never see this back in the day? And then to see it on the big screen with a band playing beforehand or a solo artist, I guess, I don't know if he had a drummer. But it was super cool. And it's one of those things like Keith has shown Popcorn, which is one of my favorite, you know, just like early 90s, like
movie about a movie in a theater.
Yes,
yes. But it's like filmed in Jamaica, so it's like randomly they have a band playing, you know, reggae music when the lights go out in the theater. You're like, why? It's like, we don't care why. It was shot in Jamaica. Just go with it, you know. But it's like a slasher movie in a movie theater, and it's you gotta support stuff, you know. So driving an hour, it's like I was going to leave earlier, but I had stuff going on, and you know, you just kind of adapt and show up late, but you still show up. So,
wow.
You still show up.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dave.
Support the scene.
Yeah.
As some typical fan questions, then, like, what would you most like to do that you haven't done for Scream Screen?
Well, there's always, a monetary restriction with the program. I would love to get more guests, which we have started doing. We brought out Felissa Rose in December, which was amazing. She was amazing. Are bringing Brian Trenchard Smith out next month. Are working on a special guest for the summer series also. I hope that comes through to get her out here.
Oh.
But definitely want to, I think now that the audience has grown to a size that can support it, bringing out more out-of-state guests. Again, as super fans that we all are, it's so awesome, even if it is that weird actor that's in the scene for 30 seconds or, we're stoked to like have that special experience of like, oh my God, I saw it with so-and-so there. So that is something I'm definitely trying to do more of in this coming year and with the upcoming screenings is getting more special guests out. And again, the audience allows me to do that. I still need butts in seats to sell tickets that enables me to take it to the next level. If nobody's coming, it is hard for it to grow and expand and get grander.
Nice.
But that's a big one for sure.
What are you most proud of exposing people to that you think they might not have seen otherwise?
Wow. I think the very first screen series I ever did with the Film Society was the films of the new French Extremity, which in the 90s and early 2000s, there was a kind of a new wave of French extreme horror cinema, extremely graphic, extremely brutal, violent, sexual, just very out there. And I remember seeing those films when they came out and was just blown away. And was like, oh, if the theater will let me show these kind of movies, this is like the kind of shit I think that people should be seeing.
Right.
I am definitely drawn to more extreme films and, am not shy about loving gore and, the more graphic and brutal it is. I love slasher movies. I love it. I love it. And I showed High Tension, which is a little more kind of a mainstream movie in that genre. I showed a film called Calvaire, The Ordeal, which is one of my favorite films ever made. It is kind of like Deliverance meets Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's incredible. I showed Martyrs, which is probably one of the most modern fucked up movies that there's been in decades. And I mean, people hate it. Those are the kind of movies I love to show. Like, yes, hate it, you should come, or come and learn to hate it, or maybe you won't hate it and you'll love it like I love it. But I love showing that kind of stuff that challenges people, makes people feel uncomfortable, makes them reevaluate why do people enjoy films like this. Anybody can see Halloween or Nightmare on Elm Street, and while I love those films too, it's like, let's see the evolution of what people have been doing recently. One
thing I liked attending one of your screenings was I don't remember, it was a Screamathon or maybe it was during the Toby Hooper month where we got to see Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1 and 2 back to back.
Yeah.
But there were people bringing their kids in the audience. And that's what got me thinking about Evil Dead. I was like, yeah, we've all seen Evil Dead, but some people were, like I remember when I saw it for the first time, but it's like the first time you get to see it on the big screen is a fun experience too.
Right.
So that's kind of cool when the people can bring a younger audience, whether they should or shouldn't be in
Yeah.
there. It's another question, but yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, that's cool. You remember going to see that with your folks or your family or your friends or.
Yeah, there are a group of awesome, rad parents that come to almost every screen and they bring their kids. And the kids are, I'm not totally sure, I'm going to guesstimate between like 12 and 15. So not like children, but children. Yeah. And, they come with their parents. They're their parents. I'm not the parent. And the parents have determined that these are okay films for them to see. They're not coming to Martyrs, mind you. They're coming to Evil Dead. They're coming to, Toby Hooper's Life Force. But still, these kids are coming and they're rad and they're wearing Scream Screen shirts and they're wearing Cult Legacy shirts and they have pins and they are so pumped up and they're bringing friends. And I'm like, every time I see those kids there, it makes me so happy because they remind me of me and they remind me of my dad.
Yeah.
And my dad is no longer with us, but every time I see them, it just makes me so fucking happy that what cool parents. those kids are going to grow up to be so awesome and hopefully raise more awesome kids, and they're going to have such an appreciation of film and horror because their parents weren't scared to show them like an
Right.
R-rated movie where somebody gets stabbed. It's
Yeah.
just a movie. There might be some boobs. They're going to probably see boobs in their real life at some point. It's all good.
Yeah, there's that opportunity for them to become more sophisticated and in touch people.
I think so.
Yeah, just like
Yeah.
what Fred Rogers intended.
Right. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that
Yeah.
up because that is something. It's made me so happy over the past like couple years
Yeah.
that these just regular kids, and I mean they're at almost every screening. Like if they don't show up, I'm like, where's Gus? Gus is like the kind of leader of the
Mhm.
kids, and it's like, oh, Gus isn't here. Like,
Hmm.
and he didn't come to crash. I did give the dad a heads up. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of feel like I should just tell you
Yeah.
maybe you probably shouldn't bring the kids to crash. Like it's very adult. It's NC-17. It's very sexy. And he's like, oh, I'm a Cronenberg fan. I'm not bringing the kids to crash. And I was
Yeah.
like, I just felt like I should say
Yeah.
something. But again, these are intelligent, well-informed, good parents. Like
Yeah.
they're not going to bring their kids to crash.
I think you had a question.
I do have a question. Before my question, I'm into more recent horror than
Mhm.
older horror, so I kind of look to you. Like, if you're showing it, I'm like, okay, it must be good.
Thank you.
I've been, like, kind of trying to educate myself on the older, more classic stuff. So my first time seeing Poltergeist
Oh,
was
awesome.
in 35mm on
Wow.
the big screen.
What did you think?
I loved it.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was great. And I went down to Toby Hooper Black Hole.
Fantastic.
Nice.
So
Excellent.
thank you for that. My subgenre, my area in the horror world is haunted houses.
Okay.
I'm a haunter. So my question is, do you have any fun haunted house
Oh,
experiences?
I in real life, I wish. I'm one of those people that I think I'm open to that kind of stuff.
Wait, are we talking about real haunted houses?
Are you talking about real life or movies?
I jump out and go boo, like at
Oh.
commercial haunted houses. Like I get
Oh,
in people's
nice.
faces and make them
Nice.
scream and cry.
Cool. I love
So are you into that?
I love haunted houses. So every October I'm like haunted houses. I can't get enough. I love them. I love haunted houses. I will drive 2 hours to go to a haunted house up in the mountains or in Colorado Springs. There's a great one down there that we always go to. Love
Is it house green?
love haunted houses. It's in like a weird old 70s, maybe abandoned bank building. It's
I haven't been to
long.
that.
You're in there forever. It's like the longest haunted house ever. It's so
Nice.
good. That's one of the best ones there
The
is.
haunted junkyard too.
There's
Oh.
a haunted junkyard in
Oh,
Commerce
that
City
sounds
that I
cool.
love.
I
Oh,
wanted to
sweet.
go to
Of
that,
course,
but
it'd be in Commerce
Your
City.
website's
Yeah,
questionable.
That's awesome.
It's not a
Question.
haunted house. It's like people living in a junkyard that open it up at night during October. But I love those kind of more house haunt,
Yes.
just really legitimately scary because there's like a rusty washing machine that you're going to fall over. There's no lights and, there's like
Tweakers.
animals, foxes running around and stuff. It's like, that's terrifying. But yes, I love haunted houses. I love everything pertaining to Halloween, to being scared, to feeling scared. I'll travel to wherever there's something spooky going on. I love it all.
That's great. Any more questions?
If you could choose any person in the world to have as a guest, either a musician to play, director to have out, actor, who would you choose, and what film would you show for?
Not even a second to hesitate. It would be
Oh.
2 people that tie,
Nice.
and that would be David Cronenberg,
Awesome.
my favorite filmmaker of all time, who ties with Dario Argento.
Ooh.
And both of them, as people do, are getting older. I think
Mhm.
Dario Argento is around 80 now, and Cronenberg's not far behind. I would sell my soul to be able to meet them, have them out, bring them to Denver, show them and introduce them to Denver's horror community. I've shown many of their films because they are my favorites, but I would probably, if I was so lucky to have David Cronenberg come out to Denver, I would probably show Videodrome.
Okay.
I
Yep.
have a giant Videodrome
Nice.
tattoo on my leg that is David
Awesome.
Cronenberg's face. Long live the new flesh.
Yep.
Dario Argento, oh my God, I would probably just melt into the floor. Suspiria would be like the obvious choice, but not my favorite of his films. I would probably show like opera or tenebra or something that's a little more modern that people kind of forgot that he was still amazing for so long. But I would kill or die to have the opportunity to meet either one of them in any context, if it was even like putting gas in their car or something.
Nice.
That's a good question. I would kill for them. I'll kill for you.
Oh, that's so sweet and endearing.
I hope they're watching.
Yeah. Cronenberg. Yeah, my brainwaves. Yeah, with that metal plate, that's not going to work. Yeah. Well, Theresa, thanks so much for coming out.
Thank you, guys.
It's been a great pleasure. We can't wait to come out, and I know Brett and I will be out for Dead End Drive-In.
Awesome.
With Lise. But this Friday you're showing Sorcerer with
Yes.
Roy Scheider
Yes.
from Jaws. So make sure you come out, see that. Go to the C Film Center website to get your tickets and everything. Better fucking come out.
That's right.
Otherwise, Brett's coming over to your house.
We know how to log into your computers now.
Yeah. Don't ask me. I'm stupid at this shit. That's why I just live stream it all, because I don't like to edit. But yeah, thanks again so much. Thanks again to Mutiny Information Cafe for hosting us and providing us with all the great coffee and everything. And anyway, I'm going to sign off. Where can people go for Cult Legacy and all that?
So Cult Legacy, cultlegacy.com. We are at Cult Legacy on Instagram and Facebook. We are always at Scream Screen with a little pop-up. And we will be at the Mile High Horror Film Festival in May. Very excited for that.
Excellent. We'll be there with you. And go to cofohorror.com/get tickets and get your fucking tickets. Because, we got weekend passes, so they're awesome and they're very inexpensive for early bird specials. So we'll see you then. And then, have a good night.
Thanks
Thanks
you
so much.
guys.